Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, alleluia. Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, alleluia. Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, hallelujah. Yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai. Yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai. Yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai. Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to our monthly meditation Shabbat with Yogallelu. If you're able, if you're outfitted properly, stretch along with me. If not, feel free to just get yourself into a comfortable position and let the meditations wash over you. We will start tonight, as we always do, with our Shabbat candle lighting. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. And now I'm gonna just slide this out of the way of my stretches and invite you to rise with me for some moon salutations. We start in mountain pose. So your feet are about hips width distance, your toes gripping the ground. You are well stabilized. Your back is straight, your hands facing outward. Deep breath in, straighten your back and out. So nothing is stretching yet, but everything is alert. And we rise. Shabbat only comes when the sun sets and the moon is lighting the sky. So we do some moon salutations, stretch to each side before we bow forward and up. So we'll take a few breaths of Kol HaNeshama. Let every breath be a praise to God in standing pose, and then we'll move on with the bowing and the salutations. Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, alleluia. Kol ha-neshama tehalleluya, Hallelujah. And now, as we welcome in the Sabbath bride, we'll take some more of those bows, just as we would in a more traditional version of Lecha Dodi. On those last words, Boi Chala, we would do some bows at the waist, but now we're going to bow from the waist all the way down to touch our toes. From that firm, alert position of mountain pose. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Roll up slowly. Take another deep breath in. Let your whole chest and stomach fill with that air, expanding out. Feel the stretch through the tops of your shoulders. And exhale till you feel like you just have nothing left inside. And now we honor the goddess in each of us, the divine in each of us rather, and the divine feminine with goddess squat. So, for me, I'm just on each sides of my mat, but depends on your knees really. You might want to step out further to get more stability. Barechu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Barechu, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Barechu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. A little off my balance today. That just means I need this meditation and yoga Shabbat all the more so to recenter. So we're still moving through the regular poses. It's a little bit more stop and go than you might do in a more typical yoga class. But this is still the order of poses for a variation of moon salutation. And so next, we're in the star pose. And as we hold this pose, so your feet are about a little wider than hips width distance. The length, again, the width of my mat, in my case. And you're just stretching everything out as far as you can reach. And as we do this, we chant the words of the Shema, the watchword of our faith, proclaiming the oneness of God and the oneness of our people under God. And as we hold this star pose and we stretch out in every direction, trying to touch as much of the air as we can, we remember that we are made of star stuff. Everything in this universe is interconnected, is one, as God is one. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Now we come to pyramid pose with your feet about hips width distance apart, but also stacked. So you're, in my case, my right foot, doesn't really matter, just keep track of which foot so that you can do the other side next. One foot is in front, and they're close together. They're really at your hips there. And they're straight. And bend over and get quite a stretch in that back hamstring. Sorry, the front hamstring. And of course, the pyramid stretch calls to mind the pyramids of Egypt and the story of the Exodus. We'll get We'll talk a little bit more about that in our meditation, as this week's Parsha marks or tells the story of the final moment of the Exodus, the last 3 plagues, and the going out from their slave homes where they theoretically built the pyramids. So we take a moment to reflect on how that might have felt, that night of waiting, that morning of going out. Might feel like the tension in your muscle right now, and the going out might feel like the release and the relief you feel when you stand back up. So keep that. I stepped out to look at my notes, but keep that. Just slide your legs a little bit further apart, lengthwise, I guess. They're still by your hips. And come down into a lunge. Lunges are not only good stretches, but again, great practice of balance. In this week's Parsha as well, we talk about the hardening of Pharaoh's heart, and then its softening as the final plague convinces him to let the people go. And each of us has hard-heartedness in us and soft-heartedness. And we keep that balance, hopefully leaning a little bit more to soft, but often we have to maintain our own boundaries and, keep to our own strengths. And that requires balance and knowing your limits when it starts to hurt. Now, come through the other side, so step back. We'll go reverse, so start with your lunge again, your low lunge. So switch legs, which is in front, and come down. Sit in that bouncy space. Like imagine there's an exercise ball underneath your hips there, and you're completely in the middle between the 2 feet. How does it feel? Is it comfortable? Can you feel that balance? Or do you feel yourself teeter-tottering? Is the balance within you? Is it in your body? Is it in your mind? Where do you need to call upon it to hold yourself in harmony? And hopefully, when you find that harmony, you will feel free, as our ancestors felt when they crossed the Sea of Reeds. That Torah portion we'll discuss more next week. But as we come to pyramid pose on the other side, so now my left foot is in front, and I've brought that back leg in more from the lunge. We sing just a little of that song of the sea, that song of freedom. Mi chamocha ba'erim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar lakodesh. Okay. Come into a little yogi squat to balance out that stretch in the front of your legs. Whoop. Don't lose your balance. And now we come to a seated position. I come to a seated position. I'm going to sit on my poof to go through the meditation. As I recommend each month, if you have a job that you are on your feet all day, I recommend you get yourself into either a dead bug pose, just kind of, it's pretty self-explanatory here, or you can even do some legs on wall. I actually have a wall now. Woo-hoo-hoo. And let the wall support you, the floor support you, and just let all that blood flow back up if you've been on your feet all day and it's been flowing downward. If you have a desk job and you're seated and particularly on a computer all hunched over all day, I recommend you take child's pose. Keep your glutes right on your heels and stretch forward as far as you can. Stretch your torso forward as far as you can. You can also hold your ankles and get the stretch that way. I like to put my arms out in front because I feel it stretches my armpit area too, and my shoulders get tight, so it feels good. But those are my recommendations. It is hard to hold those poses and speak through a guided meditation, so I'm gonna just sit on my poof here and do that. So close your eyes, take a deep breath in and out. Imagine you are in a room in your home, a room you feel comfortable in. Maybe you don't have to imagine, maybe you are home, in a room you feel comfortable in, alone. This room has a door, and that door is closed. Your favorite room that you feel safest in, a room where nothing changes and nothing challenges. You sit in this room and look around you, and you see that the room is dark, very dark, that the safety of the room has taken all the color out of the room. This room is the room of Tebet, where the darkness becomes darker and the days grow short, and you do not see what you do not want to see. You are safe and warm, but blind. Sit in this blind safety for a moment. Now, in this safe, dark room, you look towards the door and you see a sliver of light coming from under the door. Imagine that you rise up and walk to the door, and you open that door, and you see that outside this safe room is winter. Everything is covered in snow, soft, white snow. You are in the dark room, this narrow place. So you leave the room. Now you are outside, a beautiful winter meadow covered in snow, and you have your winter clothes on now. So you are warm enough. The ground is covered with whiteness, and the light is bright, and the trees surrounding the meadow have no leaves. The light is magnificent. It is now Shevat. Still cold. You can't pretend it's spring. You must see things as they are now. You must wear your warm clothes the days are growing longer. When the world seems most devoid of life, you can see the future. Someday there will be spring, but not yet. Not in this snow-covered meadow. You see the beauty and the cold. You see the truth. You are with the one and the oneness. In the beautiful winter light. And in this light, you see light. Ki imcha mekor chayim beorcha nerei or. For with you is the source of life, and in your light do we see light. Our ancestors in this parsha have been in a narrow place, in a dark place. And as we see, as they wander the desert and complain every step of the way, they were safe enough. They were warm enough. They had enough to eat. They were not free. They were not fully living until this parsha. And they stepped out into that great expanse of freedom with all of its terrifying lack of boundaries and its brightness. And so may we step out from the narrow places to face our own true light and bring more light into this dark world. Take another deep breath in and out completely. Flutter your eyes open. Now to bring in that light of the world, as I say, we need nimble backs. We need to be flexible and ready to go with the flow. Buildings and bridges were made to bend in the wind, to withstand this world. That's what it takes. That's from Rabbi Ani DeFranco for you, by the way. And the meditation that I read was by Trisha Arlen. So you can read it at your own pace as well. But now to bring in that light, to usher in that messianic era, it is upon us, Aleinu, to have flexible backs, to be able to go with the flow, to carry the burdens, and to bring in that time. So we're going to do some cat-cow poses and finish off with a bridge pose while we sing the Hashevota, the finishing lines of the Aleinu. V'hashevota el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim v'hashevota el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim v'hashevota el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim v'nemar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad. We take a moment now before we do our final meditations and final resting pose to say a prayer for healing. I want to share this prayer by Suzanne Sabransky. Creator of all, giver of wisdom, help us to embrace your ways. When sometimes we can't understand your why, remind us that sometimes only you know the reasons. When there are things beyond our understanding, remind us that we don't always need to understand. God of all, giver of life, your ways are righteousness. Who are we to doubt you? Are we so vain as to question your plan? Yours is divine inspiration and guidance. Our paths are created by you. You bring the day's new sun. Your golden light shines upon us. Even in our pain and deepest sorrow, your still small voice is present. You give the gift of unconditional love. Your teachings are a signpost leading us home. Merciful and loving in your ways, show us compassion when we hurt. Teach us to see new beginnings when we see only an end. Graciously shelter us under the shadow of your wings, granting us peace and refuah shlema, complete healing. I'll read the names that I have on our list, and feel free to add any names in the chat for those who'd like to say a healing prayer for. Mary Kennedy, Rosalind Cantu, Mike Haug, Lori Perry, Nick Joliot, Rhoda Wessler, Rhonda Butler, Ricky Grant, Shoshana Bat Abraham, Minna Dornfeld, Ira Dornfeld, Juliette Origi, Leslie White, Marilyn Frito, Anna Parias, Frank Lerner, John Solomon, Ann Cohen, Charlotte Birch, Anita Ash, Joseph Matter, Daryl Swan, Doris Hudson Trujillo, Susan Smith, Mary Lou Manzelli, Kevin Kossoff, Devin Kennedy, Herb Leventhal, Kai Bean, Gail O'Neill, Rachel Hofford, Bruce Berg, and Patty Bergeron. Feel free to keep adding any names in the chat as we chant. El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lanu. God, please heal him, heal her, heal us all. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. El Na Rafana La, El Na Rafana Lo, El Na Rafana Lanu. Now, turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us in body, but remain with us in spirit. Last week we didn't have services, but we marked yard sites for Eddie Shore, George Hankin, Jacob Nemero, Julius Daniels, William Bernstein, William Chu, Harry Dornfeld, Florence Rosenfeld, Bernard Strassner, and Bruce Schechter. This week, we mark yard sites for Aaron Samuel Thaler, Edith Brodsky Rothstein, Harry Bucher, William B. Chu, Joseph Wessler, Lillian Levin, Charlotte Thaler, Irvin Lewis Traeger, Marjorie Selden, Julius Rubenstein, Len Rosen, and Fan S. Mullins. And this week marks the first yard site for Ruth Sherman. We're still within the year of mourning for Louis Aaron Honig, Jean Sullivan, Carolyn Rubel Magrum, David Nemero, Tom Lombard, Marion Finkel, Steve McGrew, Herbert Levy, Lynn Steffen, Debbie Taylor Wright, Mark Anderson, Gary Sullivan, Samuel Fallis, Elaine Skolnick, and Edith Herman. If you wish to join, if it is your custom to rise for the Mourner's Kaddish, you may do so now. If you would like to rest from or seal in your practice of the yoga that we did, you may come into final resting pose. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei amayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Take one more stretch of your body. Curl over into fetal position. And slowly lift yourself back up and seal in your practice. by touching your third eye, or as I like to say, just rubbing out that spot on my forehead that gets dizzy when I sit up. And Shabbat Shalom. A few announcements, and then we will do Kiddush and Motzi and sing one more round of Osei Shalom to close us out. Announcement. So tomorrow, Shabbat morning services will be Zoomed at 10 a.m. And also live streamed to Facebook. I have difficulty live streaming Zoom to YouTube, so find us on the Zoom link or on Facebook. Sunday, religious school has also moved to Zoom, and adult ed was already on Zoom. So we'll see you there. Adult ed at 1. Coming up next week, regular Friday night services on live stream. Saturday night is normal, Havdalah. But then Sunday begins our Tu B'Shvat things. So the teens have a trip to the Veterans Park at Marumsco Watershed to clean up. And then we'll do our Zoom Tu B'Shvat Seder. And Monday, the 17th, is our all-day learning event. You don't have to stay all day on Zoom, but come in and out. We have 3 really awesome speakers that are reworking their plans a little bit to be more Zoom friendly. They had really like interactive, awesome plans for you all that are having to be a little bit refigured, but it should still be a really wonderful day of learning on different aspects of environment and inequity to combine the values of Tu B'Shvat and Martin Luther King Day. Badger says that's enough yakking. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Tevon. Osei shalom bimroma, ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.